Effects of interest rates in today's San Diego market. Hello, everybody. My name is Roxanne Govari with Pemberley Realty here in San Diego, California, along with my partner Santiago Guerin.
Hello, everyone. Very interesting topic today. Interesting on interest. So let's see what we got a good topic, and let's talk about it a little bit more in depth. Get people to know a little bit more.
Interesting on interest rates.
Yeah, correct. So, why don't you start off maybe telling our audience because us as realtors, we kind of sometimes might think that everyone knows everything like related to real estate. So how does interest rate affect, people or home buyers, home sellers? What is it,
So if you're buying everything in cash, then it really doesn't matter what the interest rates do, right?
Yeah.
But if you have to borrow money in order to buy, then that's when interest rates become a playing factor. And if you're looking at interest rates, then it's also when you're looking at homes and when you're looking at real estate, then it really makes a big difference because you're talking about borrowing large sums of money, right? So and the average home for example, in the county of San Diego, our median sales price right now is about 1.2 million. Yeah. So if you're saying if somebody comes in with a VA loan or with an FHA loan, you're borrowing a lot of money. Even if you're putting 10% down, 20% down, you still are borrowing a lot of money. Let's go with a case scenario of putting 20% down on $1 million purchase, right? So on $1 million purchase, you put down 20%, that is $200,000. Yeah. So in that scenario, you're borrowing $800,000, right? So you're borrowing $800,000. So then that makes the calculations very easy. So for example, if you're borrowing at 5% interest, right? For every $100,000, right? For every $100,000 that at 5%, what's the cost per year? What's the cost per year?
On my calculator.
You don't need your calculator.
Say that again.
$100,000 at 5% interest. How much is that going to cost you per year?
100,000 times 5%. So that is $5,000.
$5,000. Okay. So now break that into months.
So divided by 12, that's $416 a month.
$416 a month. Okay. Now you're borrowing $800,000, right? Mm-hmm. So how much is that going to be?
If you're doing 5%, that is $40,000.
How much is that per month?
$3,333.
There you go. Okay. So that's how you would calculate it, easy, right?
Yeah.
So now we're at about 7% right now. So let's change that. What would be the cost of $800,000?
$800,000 would be at 7% would be $56,000.
Divided by 12?
That is 4,666. So that's a big difference.
Exactly. But you see how you calculate it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So that would be your your interest.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Okay.
the difference between one and the other is like, yeah, almost like $1,300 between one and the other.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And that's why real estate is so interest rate sensitive, because you're borrowing a chunk of money, big chunk of money,
Yeah,
and so for that big chunk of money that you're borrowing, interest becomes
yeah,
interest becomes so important, because your payment could be so different from one point of interest to the other,
yeah, yeah,
right? But it also gives you an opportunity, because if you get in, let's say you get in at 7%, so your payment is at 46.67, right? And then the interest drops to 5%, and you're able to refinance that loan from a 7% interest rate into a 5% interest rate. Look at the reverse side of it. Look at the savings that you could make,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? From
Yeah,
going from 46.67 per month to 33.28 per month.
yeah.
That's a huge savings,
It
right?
is.
So it
It
could
is.
work both ways,
Either way, either way. Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. And what are some of the trends here in San Diego with interest rates? Have they been, is it does it correlate more with, other states or other places in the state, or is it different?
So in order to find out what the interest rates are going to be, um, you want to look at the movements of 10-year treasury,
Yeah,
the 10-year treasury note. So if you look at the 10-year treasury note, you can pretty much calculate, for the most part, add 2 to 3% to the 10-year treasury note, and that's going to be uh, you know, your interest rate for buying homes. Of course, that is not like an exact number. Um, that's a guess, but mortgage rate daily. Let me. Mortgage rate daily is one of those websites that I rely on for getting the interest rate of the day. And if I'm looking right now, as of August 21st, we are actually at we're actually not that bad. We're at like 6.3, 6.4, which is not that bad. Actually, I'll take that back. 30-year fixed is at 6.62. 15-year is at 5.97. And 30-year jumbo rate is at 6.67. So it's better than what it was a couple of weeks ago at
yeah.
6.8, but
Hmm.
you know, um, and historically, 6% interest rate is not that high of an interest rate. It's just that we have, during COVID times, we went up so quickly in prices, and the interest rates were so low that now we feel like, oh my God, 6%
Yeah,
interest rate is very high. But
yeah,
if you look at historic interest rates, it's actually not that bad.
yeah, yeah,
Now, affordability, on the other hand, is a different story. And
yeah,
that's why we're all, crying over interest rates, because of affordability.
yeah. How does that impact like first-time home buyers? People that are barely buying for the first time, does it affect them in any way or?
The thing that I think we all forget is that it's never been easy to get into a home.
Yeah,
For a first time home buyer, it's always a struggle to get in. Not to say that right now it's comparable to what we had 50 years ago, because affordability is at an all time low.
mm-hmm.
But it's never easy to get in as a first time buyer.
Yeah.
And it's always a struggle. I was talking to a one of the buyers that has purchased a property from us recently, and he was saying, and he's young, he's a Gen Z type of a buyer, and he was saying that, well, you know what? For the past 4 years, I have basically ate at my parents or have not eaten out at all, and I'm driving my grandmother's car that's 11 years old, and I just been trying to put my money away, and that's how he's been able to buy,
Yeah.
basically making sacrifices. And that's one of those things that, anytime that you want to get into the housing market, sacrifices need to be made in order to gain here, and you
Yeah.
have to make some sacrifices to get there.
And does the interest rates affect, like, let's say, you know, do I mean those cash buyers, those investors, if someone has a home first time home buyer, they're going to be competing against these people that have, that they can just basically almost paid up front, right? So is there some difficulty there, or is there, enough inventory for people to actually get in a place and not have to, you know,
That is a conversation that I was having with some clients who are selling a place right now,
yeah,
and I was saying that, look, for a place that's move-in ready, the competition right now is not that fierce, because affordability is low. There's not that many buyers. We're in kind of a buyer's market. Really, demand is not very high. So if the place is is move-in ready, and there's not that many buyers and then not that much demand, then that kind of a place is going to sit.
yeah,
But at the same time, if a place is a fixer, if is a fixer upper, and it needs a lot of work, now that type of a place is going to be very, very popular and in high demand, because your type of buyer that's going to be interested in that type of a place is going to be, you're going to have a larger pool of buyers,
yeah,
because that's not just a place to live in, it's a place that somebody can make money off of.
yeah,
So it creates not only a shelter for somebody, but it also creates a business opportunity for somebody that can come in, buy that place, rehab that place, sell it for a profit. So demand on that type of a place is gonna be much higher, right?
yeah,
So now, how does interest rate affect those people, right?
yeah,
Because we're sitting on the other side, and we're thinking, oh, these investors are coming in buying with cash. Almost always, these investors are not buying with cash, right?
hmm,
They're almost like 99.9% of the time, they're buying with hard money loans. Hard money loans means that somebody out there is lending the money. Somebody has that cash and giving that investor the money to buy.
yeah,
So the restrictions on lending for those type of purchases is not as high, because they're not using a government loan that is set up, designed to protect the consumer. These are just basically, somebody out there has the money, and is lending the money to these investors over here to complete the purchase.
yeah,
But the thing about that is, higher risk, higher reward. So higher risk meaning, okay, how much money do you need? I'll just write a check. I'm not going to ask any questions, right? I'm going to charge more for interest. So if the interest rate on the going interest rate on the market is 6%, I'm going to charge 10%.
yeah,
And so the cost of borrowing that money for that investor is a lot higher.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
And what are your thoughts if we did see that interest rates dropped a little bit. What are your thoughts if it keeps dropping maybe a little bit more, or what if it drops a lot more? What are your predictions?
Well, you know, we've been suffering through high inflation for a couple of years, right? In the past 5 years, we've seen a lot of inflation hit, and inflation and interest rates basically go the opposite direction. So we see about 2.7% in interest right in inflation rate right now, and the ideal inflation that that you want to see, or that you don't want to see any more than 2% in inflation rate. And so if we're at 2.7% inflation,
Mhm.
then we're still dealing with inflation. And that hits when, let's say you go grocery shopping and you go buy milk and cheese. And last time you went to buy milk, it was $5 a gallon. And now you go buy milk and it's $6 a
Yeah,
gallon. That's where inflation hits, right? So now interest rate comes down, real estate prices go up. That's going to translate into the gallon of milk becoming $7
yeah,
per gallon.
yeah,
So it's a fine balance, right? Where do we want to see
yeah,
things go,
yeah. And have you
right?
seen any of your past, I mean, you've had, hundreds of clients throughout your, you know, real estate career, but have you seen any of your clients pause their search because of interest rates? Like stop looking?
You know, the thing is, um, as a, as people, we always do the opposite of what's best for us. So right now it is a buyer's market, right?
Hmm.
And buyers really need to be out there and buying, because there are some great deals out there. There's some sellers that are really really motivated and they're willing to let go of their property at a deep discount. And now's the time to buy. And what do we see? We see that buyers don't buy, be buyers that are hesitating, buyers that are sitting and waiting on the fence.
Hmm.
And it's basically being the sheep, right? You just follow the sheep in front of you without thinking, and you are not being as smart as the what do they call the dog that runs the sheep?
Yeah, the hoarding, I know which one you're talking about. I forgot the
Yeah.
name.
I mean, that would be the smart person, right? Do what is more logical to do at the time. So that would be what the smart buyer would do right now. The smart buyer right now would get in while there is either no competition, or
Yeah,
the competition is basically not very strong. Get in, get into the house that they want to get into, and then wait until interest rates drop, and then refinance into a lower rate.
yeah, yeah,
That would be the smart thing to do, because if you wait as a buyer, right? If you wait right now and not buy, then wait for interest rates to drop, then prices will start rising, because interest rates come down, demand grows, prices will go up, and here you are, you haven't bought anything, and now you're going into a market again, you're competing again, the prices will go up again, and you lose.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And kind of long shot. What do you think would take for inventory to be like back in pre-pandemic? You know.
inventory is already pre-pandemic.
Okay. Okay.
I'll give you an example. Okay, maybe not quite pre-pandemic, but almost there.
Okay.
92116,
Yeah.
which is one of the zip codes that we we operate in, right? University Heights, Normal Heights, and Kensington is 92116. Traditionally, 92116 had, and that's a very small pie within the the overall pie, right? But it's a piece of the pie that I can speak to. And 92116, prior to all of this, had about 75 homes per available for sale. When we were going through the pandemic years, we had about 30 to 35, sometimes as little as we went down to 14 homes for sale at
Wow.
any one time, right? But right now we're sitting at about 60 homes for sale. So what does that tell you in terms of, at least in terms of comparison to COVID times of average being between 30 and 35, and now being at 60 homes for sale.
I basically doubled. So, yeah.
So yeah.
So there is a good
And
amount. So there's, still inventory out there for buyers to go out there and find, right?
at the same time, a lot of the times your wants and needs as a buyer might be very specific, right? But
Yeah.
as long as there is inventory, there's opportunity for you to find what you're looking for,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So that's what it basically comes down to, in terms of what you do as a buyer, what you do what you need as a seller, and how interest rates play into that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Some pretty good points that we covered today.
All right. So on that note, let's talk about how to calculate those interest rates, right? And
Yeah.
how to calculate those payments, and if calculating those payments or those costs are something that our audience are looking into, they can always reach out to us, right? There's my phone number, and there is
That's my number.
Santi's phone number. You can always reach out to us on Instagram or on Facebook. You can always reach us via our website, and or via our team email, which is right here.
Yeah.
And if you are watching this on YouTube, we would really appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up and like our page, and also to subscribe, so that as we're putting out more videos, you are notified of those of that content, and are able to reach us and make comments and ask questions, and give us a little bit of love.
Perfect. Perfect. Looking forward to hearing from everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another episode of our Real Estate Talk.